Well, the Edmonton Oilers kick off the 2024-2025 NHL regular season with an absolute dud, falling 6-0 to the Winnipeg Jets. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas, and Matt Kassian with you as we break this bad boy down. We've been here before, and it is not pretty. Getting some bad deja vu. Text us 780-218-9999. If you're watching, thank you. Get into the nasty chat. I know a lot of you were leaving very early with like 12 minutes left in the third period. It was 5-0 at that point. The Jets would add another one to add insult to injury, and the end result is a 6-0 final. Of course, the GCL Diesel Oil Stream postgame show brought to you by our good partners and friends over at GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel fuel, diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. And we have a lot of messages coming in. I can't wait to read them. A lot of nasty chats happening right now. I can't wait to read them. And hit your thumbs up button on your way in, even though it was an absolutely putrid performance from the Edmonton Oilers tonight. We begin, as usual, with the scoring summary from tonight's game, as well as the game stats. It is not going to be pretty, so buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Lowry got the party started at 14:56 of the first period, banking in his own rebound off of the pad of Stu Skinner from Niederreiter and Mason Appleton. 1-0 Winnipeg. Mason Appleton would add another at 18:35 to make it 2-0 before the period was up. Niederreiter's second assist of the night, second point of the season. Neil Pionk getting in on that one. Zach Hyman would hit the post before the period was over. That's as close as the Oilers would get essentially all night. To the second we go now. Rasmus Kupari, his first on a nice feed from Josh Morrissey. Nobody covered the middle of the ice for the Oilers today. That's going to be something we'll talk about with Cass, and I'm sure a lot of you want to point that out. I've got a lot of problems with the Oilers tonight. Kupari's first from Morrissey, like I mentioned, and Barron at 4:17. The onslaught continues. Dylan Sandberg on a rush from Mason Appleton. Second assist for Appleton. Adam Lowry picking up his first of the season. That one coming just 20 seconds later, 4-0. And then at 9:33 of the second period, Kyle Connor on the power play. Snipes one from Josh Morrissey. Second assist for Morrissey. Scheifele's first point of the season, 5-0 after 2. The Oilers outshooting the Winnipeg Jets, by the way, 25-15 after 2 periods of play. No goals to show for. Some nice saves by Connor Hellebuck. I don't think he was really tested that much, to be honest with you, on this night. In the third period, Mark Scheifele, power play marker, his first from Ehlers and Velarde on a redirection past Calvin Pickard. At 14:15, 6-0 is your final. If you're wondering about Stuart Skinner, he lasted not long. 13 shots, 5 goals allowed for Skinner. The Oilers outshoot the Jets 30-20. And the face-off battle, Edmonton wins that handily, 58.3 to 41.7%. The power play, 0 for 1. PK, 1 for 3. That's no bueno. Hits 15-8 officially in favor of the Oilers. Block shots 28 for the Jets, 8 for the Oilers. 16 giveaways for Winnipeg to Edmonton 7. Officially 6 takeaways for the Oilers to Winnipeg's 4. Woof. Absolutely brutal. And yes, 5 goals on 13 shots for Stuart Skinner. I will get you the time. He was done after, I think it was the 5th goal. You could see Calvin Pickard getting ready to go in. They gave him until the TV timeout, and Pickard managed to make 5 saves on 6 shots, and he came in at the 31:08 mark. So basically the 2 goalies splitting the game. All right, Matt Kassian's ready to go, our game analyst. I think he has a few things to say about this one. Let's get to Cass as you continue to get those texts in. We will be reading them because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of opinions on tonight's game, and we want to make sure that you are heard. 780-218-9999, and of course, via the nasty chat. All right.
Cass hasn't checked in yet, so we're just waiting on him, Tom.
He's waiting. I see him. Nanso, do you see him?
Oh, there he is. Yeah,
there he is. Yeah, he's ready.
Just give me a sec here. We'll get him in there.
All right, we'll get him. I'll read some text in the meantime. Let's go to the Liquid Beaver. You having fun yet, Tommy, says the Liquid Beaver. You poor guys having to deal with this gong show. Stu stopped the breakaway. So there is that. Yes, he stopped the breakaway that Scheifele had very early on at 1:16 to be exact. And it was a bad giveaway at the blue line by Evan Bouchard. George and Morgan, brother George saying, that just wasn't a team I recognize. So much changeover happened in the offseason. But with a lineup like the Oilers have, I don't expect this to be the trend that continues. Mike from Calgary says, meh, game one. Taylor says, yeah. Mary says, can someone please explain why the F that happened, with a nice gif as Cass is ready to go. There you go. Matt Kassian, our game analyst. Just a small sample of what's coming in right now after the Oilers get shellacked 6-0. Cass, go ahead.
Woof. 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 Not exactly what we wanted to see from the home opener and from the team from an energy standpoint. A lot of blown coverage in this game, Tommy. A lot of blown coverage, and you can't help but wonder. People are going to start talking here already. Fans and texts and messages are flying in here about the Oilers' defense and their inability to really clear out the front of the net, to pick up sticks. And that's not just Emberson, and I know goal number 2, I'd probably peg that on Emberson, but Kulak as well. On a couple of plays, the Oilers just in general not defending the middle of the ice well. And I think that is truly what led to the lack of offense. You know, there were times when they were able to apply, particularly in the first period, some sustained pressure. They were able to get a couple chances, able to get a few little looks. But all in all, Tom, I mean, the scoreboard shows it. They just did not do enough defensively to help their goaltenders out. And it was a tough night to start the year, Tom. So we got to hope that there's not that many more of these, because they may, from some people, get a little bit of a pass here on this first one. But those passes aren't going to be, they're not going to be as forthcoming, I think, this year.
No, I mean, a lot of folks, and myself included, are thinking, really, this again? And sure enough, what makes it worse, it was an 8-1 in Vancouver. It's 6-0 at home. After all the excitement and hoopla of what happened last year, I know we can all say that you don't win or lose the Stanley Cup on opening night, but man, like, you can set the tone. You could do some good things. You can get your home crowd fired up, your city fired up, and then they just lay an absolute dud. And there was many reasons for that, Cass, and you hinted at a bunch. So do you want to start from the goaltending on out, or do you want to work your way from the forwards on in, or do you want to go to the defense? What do you think would be best tonight?
Ooh, well, we can work from the goaltending out. There's a lot of people already jumping all over me. The usual suspects, I would say, in the nasty chat.
Good to be back.
And on text as well about how I never say anything bad about Skinner. Listen, you could blame that first one on Skinner. Pad angle, goes to push across, bounces it into his own net. Sure, let's blame that one on Skinner. But beyond that, I mean, you're giving guys pretty free looks. So can we say that Skinner shares part of the blame on some of those? Sure, we can. Of course we can.
Yep.
But the defense, as I said, did not help in front of him. You know, Stuart Skinner didn't tell Emberson to slide all the way over and leave the whole left-hand side, I guess for Skinner, the right-hand blocker side of the ice open. So yeah, I get some people, and maybe it's the few that are like, oh, Skinner, we lost this game because of Skinner. It's like, well, no, we lost this because of the inability, again, to protect the middle of the ice. They did not clear out the front of the net continually. They did not clear out the front of the net. Didn't pick up sticks. Actually, even more than not clearing the front of the net, they didn't pick up sticks. And on some of the goals, you know, on the one backdoor play in particular, another one, what is the goalie supposed to do? Yeah, real goalies have a real high percentage, I'm sure, on backdoor tap-ins. That's real high percentage on those, Tommy. They have a ton of opportunity to make those saves. But the cross crease where it went by about 3 Oilers, and I can't remember, Corey Perry was one of them. I can't remember if it was Kulak or Nurse that was in front of the net. I'd have to pull it up again, but just
I'll describe real quickly, because there was like a rim around, and I think Nurse was in front, and Ty Emberson and Cass. This is something we talked about last year when they were having those defensive woes in their own zone. There was a lot of pointing. Emberson kind of pointed at it to the half wall before that pass went across from, I think it was Morrissey.
Yeah, from Morrissey across, and it just goes through 2 Oilers and right to the back door. Like, that's where you lost the game. Again, defensive breakdowns in situations that shouldn't have been necessarily that threatening, ended up being threatening. Now, the last 2 goals, power play goals, we could talk about the penalty kill. It was so good in the playoffs. A lot of new bodies on that penalty kill. So it's early on that one yet to try to pick it apart, but they will need, again, particularly on the D side of the puck, players to step up, because those are the players that are gone. Right. Those are the players that aren't here from a penalty killing standpoint. Cody Ceci is not here. Vinny Desharnais is not here. You have new bodies on the penalty kill, and they'll have to adjust to that. Again, game was already over at that point when the power play goals go in. But Tommy, it's just, again, the inability to find sticks in front of the net and to protect the middle of the ice.
Sloppy. Okay, so, and I know I defend Stu Skinner, and I point to, his body of work, and I even said it today on the Reid Wilkins show, and even on the Oil Stream. I'm like, hey, this guy, he's gone to a Stanley Cup Final Game 7. He's been an All-Star. He has gone and become a Calder finalist. But he is not immune from stinky nights. I don't think the group in front of him, like you said, Cass, was particularly good. Like you said, the middle of the ice was too easy for the Jets to cut through like butter. And then offensively, Edmonton had a few looks, but Hellebuck made some great saves. And then you saw the disparity in the shot blocking, 28-8. The Jets, having a great day blocking shots. Was it the Oilers being shin pad assassins, or is it Winnipeg being that good at defending the house?
Oh, maybe a little bit of both. It could be a little bit of both on that one, Tommy. But I know we kind of already went there, but I kind of I just started pulling up the goals here because I want to break this down a little bit more.
Absolutely.
For everybody, just because I think, Skinner had not his best night, but I don't think there was a lot of this. So if we go to that first goal, again, should be a non-threatening defensive situation. You're back, you have 5 guys back, you should be set. It starts off with the defenseman chasing behind the net. So Kulak chases behind the net. Now you could argue he's trying to flush a guy. He knows he should have players back at the front of the net. Fine. That's fine. Everyone should come back to the house. Now on that, Dermott just loses his guy in front.
Yes.
Loses his guy in front.
Loses Lowry.
Lowry has space there. And again, we could talk about Skinner's pad angle on that one. Now his first thought here from that angle is to push to the post. So he's pulling that right knee in to dig in his left edge his inside edge on his left skate to push across. We could say, okay, well, he maybe should have had his pad at a different angle. Sure, fine. We can put part of that on Stuart Skinner. So that's number one. Number two, we already talked about that one. Emberson slides all the way over.
I texted you about that one, and I said,
you texted me about that one.
Fault?
Yeah, that's
because
Emberson giving way too much room. Now, the third one we already kind of broke down a little bit as well, where you have, again, a rimmed puck, a lot of lackadaisical skating. So you have, kind of 3 Oilers forwards, Draisaitl at the top, and then who just kind of pick the sticks up off the ice and don't really take a step back to the front of the net. And then a net front defenseman in Darnell Nurse that just doesn't recognize the pass. Puck goes right through and is a backdoor tap. And again, can't fault Stuart Skinner on that one either. Now,
can I ask you something about that one about Skinner?
Yeah,
I know it's a backdoor tap in. They gave the middle of the ice, Royal Road, as Belzy likes to call it. The way he got across, like, it didn't look like he even went, the hard pad down and slide. It was just like he kind of like stuck his left leg out. Any fault there? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you see, so the puck's on the half wall. He's got 3 bodies in front of him.
Yeah.
So Darnell Nurse, who hasn't cleared anybody, and Emberson, he can't see that puck. Like, he can't see the puck on the half wall.
Okay.
And you can see him. So when he goes, he tries to kind of lean down and look on his left side to look around because he can't see where the puck is. Now, he ends up realizing where it is because he sees people react in the heads turn, which is where he sees that it's on that left side, which is why he doesn't get a big push over to it. So again, on plays like that, that back half of the net, the puck can't go there. It shouldn't go there. That is not his responsibility. The back half of the net, when the play is on the far half wall, is the defenseman and the forward's responsibility to not let anything through. That is absolutely on the players. Now, if he can see it, maybe he gets a good push across, maybe he makes the save, but he couldn't see it. There was bodies in front of him on that one. So then when we get to goal number 4, that's just a beautiful shot. Backtracking into the zone, you have a free guy. Now, again, that's a 3-on-3 situation.
Yes.
Your backtracker has to recognize that. So maybe 3 or 4 feet over into the middle. Let's just see who that is, because I can't see who it is in this. This is too small. Let me just make that a little bigger, and then it's going to load on me. But ultimately, you're letting a player come in, and you're giving way too much space. So he walks in right into the middle part of the house, inside the circle, and rifles an absolute laser beam barbed down. So it was a beautiful shot. You want to say Skinner could get it? Sure, fine. So 2 of those maybe Skinner could get. The game's over at that point again. So it's just defensive breakdowns from situations where there shouldn't be any issues. That's what leads to it. Now, I think from an offensive side of the puck, especially as the game went on, to go way back to your point, Tommy, about, were they shin pad assassins, or were the Jets that good? Well, the Jets had the ability just to completely collapse, to take absolutely zero risk offensively because they had the lead. So is there a little bit of the shin pad assassin thing? Well, maybe, but they also had the ability just to say, no, we're just going to basically turtle up here, collapse into the house, get back to the front of the net, give extra space in the gap, just stay in between your guy in the net. We're not going to give up 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals.
Right.
So we're going to be fine. So I don't know if it was so much the Winnipeg Jets just being good as it was they just had the lead because of Edmonton's poor defensive play, and by such a margin that they weren't forced to really have to take any kind of chances defensively to force turnovers. They could just sit all the way back, which is inherently going to lead to more shin pads, more block shots, more pucks bouncing off guys.
I'm not going to be a negative Nancy, because I'm going to say the Oilers had a very strong start to the second period, but it did nothing for them. And then their defensive woes were a big time issue, as you just pointed out on the goals against. By the time the 6th goal went in, the Scheifele redirection, do we go there, Cass? Because it was more, they left his stick in the middle of the ice, and he's a guy that can bury, and he just redirected one past Calvin Pickard.
Just redirected one. Great
over.
tip.
Yeah, it's over. Okay, keep those texts coming in. 780-218-9999. Lots coming in. Nasty chat as well. I want to get to as many as possible. Voice your concern about the Oilers' start to the season. Again, getting absolutely shellacked, torched, demolished on opening night. This time at home against the Winnipeg Jets, 6-0. I think it was Brian Swain, Hernan was saying, had it out there. Edmonton's not ever been shut out on home or opening night. I have my media guide here from a couple of years ago. I was going to go through it, but we ran out of time. We had to get the show going. Do I bring in the heat?
Yeah, bring in the heat.
Let's bring in the heat. All right. We're so happy to have Hernan Salas back. He doesn't look like a happy camper. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, just when you think the Oilers are over these issues early on, and
nope.
I thought they started well. I don't think there was a lot of pace to the game, guys. But then a couple of breakdowns, like Cass said, and I mean, we knew there was going to be defensive issues. We've been talking about it for the last month, guys. Like, we knew that Emerson, it was a little unfair for 30 games to say that this guy was going to step in and turn this decor around and help Darnell Nurse and all that. Travis Dermott, same thing. He comes in on a PTO. I'm not saying it's on those two guys, but the D struggled today. Darnell Nurse
didn't have
struggled.
good nights. They did not have good nights.
It took 40 minutes to split up the second and third periods. It took 40 minutes to go back to Leon and Draisaitl, which I agree with Dusty on Twitter. What is the point of putting Leon and McDavid this early on together? You brought in Skinner and Arvidsson for a reason. Keep him with Draisaitl. It's 5-0. Let him work through it. Like, enough with going to that so damn early. It does nothing for your team. So for me, it's frustrating. And Cass, I want to get your thoughts. I thought the second and third goals, and Tommy, you as well, of course.
Sure.
It was the Emerson Nurse pairing. You said the second goal was on Emerson, but if you look at the third goal as well, Cass, didn't you find both defensemen were just standing there?
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't think it was even just the defensemen. It was the forwards as well. Like, there's no one. Like, you see Emerson kind of points, and I think, at that point, he's not pointing at Nurse. He's pointing at the winger. Like, are you going to go get that?
Yeah.
Like,
it's almost like he didn't know what to do.
Well, he was trying to decide, well, do I go? But it's a little too far. Maybe I should go. Maybe I shouldn't go. Expects the winger to go. Now, the issue with all of that is Leon Draisaitl's up at the point, right? Your centerman's up at the point. And now he kind of takes a path where he steps across instead of stepping back to the net. And then, again, you kind of have five guys that all were kind of like, okay, well, maybe I'll go get it. You'll go get it. Puck's on the wall. It's not really an issue.
Point at the puck.
We're fine. We're okay. So, I use the word lackadaisical. I'm not going to be able to say it now.
Lackadaisical.
Earlier, but it was a sleepy play.
Yeah.
It was a sleepy play by all the guys on the ice in that one, on that line. But Hernan, I mean, I love that you brought it up, because I think that's a fantastic point. Is like, what was the point of then switching the lines? Like, are you going to try to spark a win in a game where you're like down 4-0, down 5-0 already? No, let them work through it. You're already at this point. You already lost the game, barring some kind of crazy, who knows what happening. So why not let the guys that you want to play together for the majority of the year work through it? Let them work through a bad game. Don't hit the nuclear option 40 minutes in. Completely agree with you.
Would you? I mean, listen. I want Troy Stecher. We know what he is, guys. Like, he's not a new guy that we're going to be surprised. We know what he brings. We know what his limits are. I don't think if Stecher plays in this game, anything changes. I think the result is pretty much the same or similar to it, but it's the only option right now. So you're looking ahead to Saturday. Is that a switch you're making? And are you giving up on Emerson and Nurse this early on? Or was it just a switch to say, hey, let me see what Dermott can do with Darnell Nurse?
Maybe just a little bit of a switch. Again, you're trying to find different groupings here. And again, like, to me, I don't know why you'd make the switch. It's like, let them work through it. They're already together. Like, if you need someone to try to figure this out, getting a look at a pairing for 15 or 20 minutes in a game where you're down 4 goals, like, is that really going to give you all kinds of brand new information? Again, with Winnipeg just kind of sitting back. So I don't know. I don't think the switch was necessary. Now, if you wanted to switch it up next game, those defensive pairings, sure. Let's go ahead and have a different look at it later this week. But you're just going to.
Let me tap into your players' intuition here, Cass. Dermott and Emerson making their Oilers debuts tonight. Their puck touches did not look confident, especially in the first period. Emerson had a couple of giveaways, Dermott a couple of whiffs as well. And then we talked about the Lowry goal where Dermott, just didn't pick up Lowry, and Lowry could bank in his own rebound. We talked about Stu trying to push off on that one. How much does nerves come into play for new guys, even though one's been in the league for a while, obviously new team, and then the other guy has now 31 games under his belt, but a lot is expected of him?
Well, Emerson maybe's got a little bit more to that nerves argument, just based on the pressure that he's under, because like it or not, deservedly or not, he's under a lot of pressure to fill that position and to execute and to be good. And maybe there was a little bit of that today that we saw, right? Like, maybe that was on him. Now, Dermott, Nurse shouldn't have been a thing on that play. That was just a bad play. Emerson, I think we can look at that and say, okay, and we talked about that a little bit before. And Nanso, you even brought that up, like, not to give him a free pass, but to say, okay, there could be some nerves. I'm okay to say maybe some of his touches were a little bit of nerves, a little bit of hesitation to his game, and you got to let him work through it. Right. But that's when you got to let him work through it, not switch up the pairings, even though it's been an absolute disaster for the first 40 minutes.
Really quickly, I went through the media guide, and tonight's loss, 6-0. From what I saw, this is the first time they've been shut out in a season opener. Their worst loss last year, 8-1 in Vancouver to start a season. And then October 4th, 1991, in Calgary. They got spanked 9-2. So that's just your sweet little dose of Oilers history when it comes to season openers. All right. 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat. I think it's time we open up those floodgates right now. You've got Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian, and Hernan Salas with you. Reid Wilkins is working the Oilers locker room and will join us a little bit later on. But let's get to some of these critiques, comments, and thoughts on Edmonton's game. All right, this one comes in from Eden. Says, hey, boys, bad loss tonight. I don't see this as a one-game losing streak. I see this as a multiple-game skid with their preseason play bleeding into the regular season. At some point, they have to learn to nip their poor play in the bud or find themselves down 3-0 again, metaphorically and literally. So, yeah, that's a rough one. Cass, Lieutenant Eric said, preseason game 9 was his tweet. What would you say to that?
That's an apt description. Kind of what it felt like, didn't it? Except maybe like preseason game 9 where you're dressing an AHL lineup that a bunch of rookies that are nervous that shouldn't be. I can't argue with that description. I can't. I don't think either of you guys can either. Like it was kind of felt like that. Just the jump wasn't there.
Coach Mike says, Nurse tossing around grenades all night, hanging Emerson out to dry at times. That pairing was awful. Coach, sure, but I don't think Emerson, I'm not giving him a free pass on this night either. This one says, relax, everyone. There is no goalie issue. The waxing by the Jets, only concern is having no goals by arguably the best two lines in the league. And give credit to Connor Hellebuyck. He was good early on, too, to keep that game at 0-0. But and I know Chief Andy on the Nasty Chat, he's not a big Skinner guy, but he says 5 goals on 13 shots. I mean, the back door, he's not going to stop that. But did you guys like of the 5 goals, he let in, how many do you think he should have had? Second one?
Maybe 2. Maybe
yeah.
1.
Tonight in the press box, I said 3 of them I didn't love, but the breakdowns in front of him were also pretty bad. So I don't know. I feel like it's a night where we can spread the blame around.
Yeah,
absolutely. And they also, Nanso, how many goals did the Oilers score?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm reading what was coming in, and that's because they're saying 5 goals on 13 shot where Hellebuyck didn't let any. They're saying that's the difference. Of course, yeah, that's part of it. But when you look at the breakdowns the Oilers had, especially defensively with their defensemen, sure, you want Stuart Skinner to maybe stop 2 of those and bring it down to 4-0 or whatever it is. But I'm not going to sit here and I'm not concerned about Stuart Skinner, guys. We've seen this before. He's going to bounce back. He's going to be fine. The concern I have is the defensive play and the decor more than the goaltending. I think Stuart Skinner's going to be fine. He proved it last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be the defensive play in front of him.
Not good tonight at all. Let's go to Sean Z texting in, says Oilers looking disinterested, disjointed, old, slow, certainly lack passion, most definitely require better defense ASAP. 3 out of 6 defenders in the Stanley Cup final, all gone. What did they expect? I'm feeling a Tommy rant coming early this season. Buzz in Nebraska echoing that, saying, just cut to the chase, Tommy, and say the season's over so we don't have to wait until game 12 to get going. I'd like to defend my crown as rent of the year at the Estes. I have it right behind me here on the shelf in the satellite studio. But no, I clearly don't expect that to happen again where they go and get off to a 2-9-1 start like they did last year. But a lot of the same. And you know what, Cass and Nanso, I'll even say this, like even the big guns, the guys who score hundreds of points every season, they get their 100 plus in the regular season and they throw in another 30 plus in the postseason. Even McDavid and Draisaitl, their puck touches weren't that sharp tonight. I think it was something that affected everybody. And I know we harp on the defense, and understandably so, rightly so, but I don't think anybody was great with the puck tonight. There was a few flashes,
No,
But
name me one
man,
guy. Name me one guy, forwards or D, that had a good game tonight.
I thought
Adam
Connor
Henry.
Brown was decent. I thought he was around it a bit. He had some good opportunities. And then I was watching it with Maddie, and I said, Connor Brown's probably the only guy right now that I'd give a slight passing grade on this team.
Yeah, that's not good. That is not good. That's a bad indicator.
He can't be your best guy.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, good for him for being okay. But yeah, you can't have him be your best guy.
Shaggy in St. Albert texting in 780-218-9999. It is game one, but after last year's game one disaster, you would think the Oilers would have some pride and show up for this first game. But no, this team is mentally weak and self-entitled. Your starter gets pulled less than 2 periods into the season. McDavid and Draisaitl no-shows. Other team outworks Oilers as per usual. This team is fatally flawed. At least the lowly Flames showing some fight against the Canucks. Oh, Shaggy in St. Albert. Shaggy in St. Albert had a great line during the playoffs. He said, "Put up or shut up." But I mean, that is very harsh for game one. I'll throw that to you guys and ask what you would say to Shaggy.
Hey, I guess, Cass, I wanted to ask you this for a while, because if the Oilers win this game, and let's just pick the preseason this year, the Oilers weren't very good. Okay, they didn't play well. There wasn't a lot of energy, and we understand because they're coming off a Stanley Cup run. But you can say if they won this game, say, well, the preseason doesn't matter, and when they get pumped like they did tonight, say, well, the preseason doesn't matter. Which one is it? Because does the preseason matter? Because I feel like we're always, if they win, it's like it doesn't matter what they do. But if they lose, it's like, well, it does matter. It can be both.
Well, my answer to that, Hernan, is yes.
It does matter.
Well, yes, it matters, and yes, it doesn't matter.
Oh, great.
We're right.
It is both. It is both. It doesn't matter in that you could have a bad preseason, and if you're mentally and physically and emotionally and preparation wise able just to flip that switch and jump into the season and be going, then it doesn't matter, and it's fine. You know, the preseason and your preseason record does not determine whether or not you make the playoffs. It does not determine whether you make the Stanley Cup final. It does not determine whether you make or win, rather, the Stanley Cup final. So it doesn't matter. Yes. But it also matters in that you're preparing yourself for the season. And if you're not ready to go, then it's going to affect you, and it's going to affect the start of the year. And so does it matter? Yes. Does it matter? No. Like it is both at the same time. And I think it's okay to have that tension there. That's one of those ones to me where they're not truly two opposite things that can't exist. Like it's two things that can exist at the same time where, it doesn't matter. But, when you come out at the start of the year and you have a game like tonight, we're like, well, okay, they carried that momentum in, that negative momentum in, where they weren't able to really establish themselves as stylistically at the end of the preseason as to the team that they need to be to have success. So now if they were able to come out tonight and let's say which they didn't, but let's say they played a great game, well, then we look at it and go, yeah, you know what? They were able to kind of sever and break and go in, and there's still time. That is one game, and it was a stinker of a game, but that's one game. If they come out and they play really well the next game, we may look back, and maybe a whole bunch of games where they play really well in a row, we may look back at it and say, well, maybe it didn't really matter all that much. So the answer to me kind of is both.
Okay, James via the nasty chat getting in on the do these games matter and do the preseason games matter. James says this team has trouble flipping the switch for a full 60 in the Stanley Cup final. We are talking about regular season games here. I mean, do these really matter? Okay, Cass. And listen, we can laugh and joke about it and that. So, and we do, because it can be ridiculous, and we roll our eyes and go, come on, this team, these guys, best players in the world. What are you doing? Is it an attitude thing? Like, are we coming back to the attitude thing already, or the mentality of the group? Or is that something that, we should save for Saturday if they lose to Chicago of all teams?
Yeah. Let's save it for Saturday.
Okay.
let's just wait. Let's just wait. Yeah. It's one game. Let's just wait. And maybe that will be the story, right? Maybe that will be the conversation, but pump the brakes.
Okay, here's one we're gonna get to Scalding Gourd, who's stacked up a few. 780-218-9999. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, tune in, or the EdmontonSportsTalk.com stream, Apple Music as well. And then if you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Get into the nasty chat. Scalding Gourd is hot, like the Latino heat. He says, well, at least nobody will complain about the Oilers' effort tonight. Wink emoji. Oilers D is what it is. They leave Ekholm with Bouchard, so he doesn't get exposed. Nurse has not returned to form. Emberson has 30 games experience. Kulak, smaller third pair guy. Dermott is a minimum salary. PTO. Kulak, by the way, guys, is like 6'2". I don't know what the misperception is there about his size. He's a big body guy. Like, he's not small. No. And then Scalding Gourd says, if Troy Stetcher, another NHL minimum contract, D-man is going to make the difference, and I'm putting my name in for the next Pope. And is Stuart Skinner the next version of MBT? Not really the reason you lose, but the reason you don't win either. And then Scalding Gourd ends it with, at least Tommy's Flames won in OT, so Cass's Canucks also get a point. I didn't know that I was on the Flames bandwagon. And Cass, when did you become a pseudo Canucks fan?
I've always been, haven't I? I mean,
hey, yeah, just to put things into kind of, the Avs got pumped by the Vegas Golden Knights 8-4, and the Vancouver Canucks blew a 4-1 lead and lost 6-5 to the Calgary Flames. So the Oilers weren't the only ones that crapped the bed tonight.
No,
they crapped the bed all right. History proves, this is from Hontorio Momes, when the Oilers get accolades, they get drunk on it. Kat says, save that for Saturday.
Yep.
Save that for Saturday. I don't want to, but I guess we should. Deaky says, I stayed up to listen to this meltdown, see if it'll put me to sleep. I hope not, Deaky. Thanks for joining us. And then this one says, hey, boys, didn't piss a drop in the preseason, and it's carried over. This sucks. Jackson got too scoring horny, but ignored the guys who need to get the puck up the ice. They got what they deserved tonight. And then AJ in Montreal says, such a disappointing effort, but Hernan's heat makes the loss worth it. Yes, we're grateful that Hernan has the heat. All right, Cass, how much longer do you want to go? I know Reid will join us eventually, but he's working the room right now. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to. Anything you want to hit on? Any more comments or anything? Are you fighting with people and yelling at them in the nasty chat yet?
I'm always yelling at people and getting yelled at. It's great. It's great. It's good. We're back. No, and I'm excited to have Reid, bounce around the room and bring in that. That'll be a nice little touch. And I don't think there's too much to go to. I mean, I am interested to see what the verbiage coming out of the room is after game one, especially, if they would have had a great start last year, you'd probably be like, oh, we're fine. But I'm just interested to see what the reaction is today. I mean, it's probably going to be a lot of, well, we know we weren't good enough. Weren't good enough in front of our net. We need to help out Skinner more. Like, that's probably going to be the storyline coming out from them. But overall, I mean, I think we kind of hit on a lot of what this game was, which is just not being sleepy defensively, not being aware defensively, and making too many defensive zone mistakes, both defense and forwards, and goaltending a little bit too. Just overall, top to bottom, up and down, it was just a not good night.
Awful start to the season. Hernan, I'm assuming you're working on some clips.
Yeah, we'll have some player audio, the Skinner and Draisaitl for sure, and then just waiting on coach.
Do we have any of those already? Because Cass said he wants to kind of listen to what's coming out.
Yes, I'll get them ready here for you guys, and it shouldn't be too long here. We'll get it going right away.
Okay, while you do that, Cass, I'll throw this at you because the schedule is a little bit interesting. 4-game homestand to kick off the season for the Oilers. Obviously, I said it. They play Chicago on Saturday. They play the Flames on Sunday, and then they wrap up this homestand Tuesday against the Philadelphia Flyers. 3 8:00 starts in this 4-game homestand, and the times, the double headers and all that plays into it. The Oilers have a day off tomorrow. What do you think of that?
You have mandated days off. I mean, that's what you have to recall is like the league has in the NHLPA, you have to have a certain number of days off. So you have to fit them in. So they probably look at this and say, okay, we had a bunch of practice days leading up to the game. This makes sense to fit it in here. When we look at the rest of the schedule, we're probably going to want to get some other practice days in. So they're just looking at this and saying, it's an okay day to do it. So, now based on the way they played today, I'm sure the coaching staff isn't loving that it's a day off, but it's, again, when you have mandated days off, you have to find ways to squeeze them in, and that's what they look for.
All right, fair point. Good perspective and a good reminder as well. I just wanted to bounce that off of you. Okay, Hernan says that Leon Draisaitl ready to go. Cass wants to hear it. We want to hear it. Let's go into the Oilers locker room and hear from number 29 in orange and blue.
What do you think went most wrong for the group tonight?
Just a couple mistakes that, immediately ended in the back of the net. We've got to be a lot sharper in those moments. But, yeah, obviously not the start we want, so we'll regroup and, put a better effort in on Saturday. Obviously,
Hellebuyck's a good goaltender, but offensively, do you think it was, how much of it do you think was him and how much do you think was you guys maybe?
Could certainly be a lot better offensively, too. Create more looks for ourselves, get more on the inside. I do think we had enough to score a couple, but obviously it wasn't meant to be.
Is there any consolation? Maybe isn't the right word, but everything is correctable. You guys know what happened.
Yeah, it was just mistakes that we know how to fix, and we obviously have to fix right away.
Do you feel like, having gone through this pretty much the exact same thing last year, you're more equipped to nip this thing?
It's the same as last year. We just, learn from our mistakes, do it better next game, and look for a better result.
Look at your line tonight, I guess, and I know you guys got broken up, but just starting the line with Jeff and Arvidsson, how did you guys feel together?
It takes time. I thought we had a couple looks. You could tell there's a couple potential looks that if we connect on those, they might be in the back of the net or a grade A look for us. So we just obviously got to continue to create chemistry and work at it. But like I said, sometimes that just takes a little bit of time.
Okay, there's Leon Draisaitl. Obviously, no points. -2, just under 18 minutes time on ice. Cass, that line he was talking about the chemistry with him, Arvidsson and Skinner. A -4 together. Arvidsson and Skinner -1 each, and they did put 9 shots on Hellebuyck. So you want to hear from Draisaitl in the tone. I'm getting a lot of flashbacks to last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
If we took that interview and we played it for like any one of like 10 or 12 games, it probably would be like, yeah, that fits that game. That fits that game. That fits that game. So, proof will be in the pudding as far as learning from the mistakes. Now, I will agree with, I think they are correctable. A lot of them are correctable. Dermott in front of the net, that's correctable. The breakdown with Emerson and the winger and Draisaitl being too high, Darnell Nurse not finding the pass, wingers not collapsing to the front of the net, that's fixable. Now, the thing is, you actually have to go out and fix it. And I will agree, they did have some looks, and Hellebuyck did make some saves. So there was some offensive opportunity there, but they didn't force the issue. They didn't get to the inside of the ice enough, as Draisaitl said. So, yeah, I guess not ultimately surprising. It's not like he dropped any huge bombs for us there.
Is it dig the F in, or is it flush it going into Saturday?
Game 1, we got to flush it. Yeah. You don't get too many of the dig the, you don't get too many of those. No. You don't. You can't do it all the time. You can only do it every once in a while, and you don't do it game 1.
Cass, we mock, we joke, we have fun on this show, and it is so good to be back, regardless of how poorly the team performed in the season opener. My friend, great stuff as always. Appreciate it. We'll catch up with you Saturday, okay?
Thanks, buddy. Sounds good.
There's our game analyst, Matt Kassian, bringing it as he always does here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream postgame show. Hernan Salas back at the EST HQ. Reid Wilkins is telling us he's ready to go. How do you want to go about this, Nan? So keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. Nasty chat. We will touch base with you. Reid is just hopping on.
Yeah,
Hernan, you tell us where we're going.
Yeah, I'll put you on the single shot for now, and then I'll get Reid on here in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, okay?
All right, let's read a couple of texts real quick. Fergie's prostate. Hello, Fergie. Says Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto. Everybody was dropping McMahon's in their sheets tonight. Oh, boy. Let's see. What else? Jasmine. Tommy, can you take your suit jacket off now? No need to be composed after that game. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this very, very much. And then a couple of texts talk about Skinner's performance. This one says, come on. Those were stoppable as poop. I swapped in poop for the expletive there. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. The Oilers get smoked 6-0 by the Winnipeg Jets to open up the season. All right, let's go to this next man. He is the host of the Reid Wilkins Show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk from 3 to 6 with Jay Milne. He was down in the room post-game. You heard him talking to Leon Draisaitl just a few minutes ago. It's Reid Wilkins. Rick, let's get your sense of the room and the vibe and then thoughts on the game, my friend.
Just give me a minute here, Tom.
Okay. Hernan's going to get you going here in a second. Pardon me, Reid. All right. I'll read a couple of nasty chats first. Reid's ready to go. This one says, over-under on when a Flames fan shows up, I say 10 minutes. Yikes. W. Cass, as always. That's from Gavis Con. And Chris Run says, first day of work didn't go very good for the boys. No, it did not down at Rogers Place. Chris also adds, they care like no one's getting whooped 6-0 from rec to pro. All right, keep those coming in. Tango adds, Holloway gives us more effort than Skinner. Nanso, we're good with Reid? Yes, no, maybe so. Yes, there we go. All right, Rick. I'll ask it again. Your vibe, sense in the room, and then thoughts on the game.
Well, I mean, Draisaitl spoke, Ekholm spoke. Ekholm just kind of said clearly not good enough defensively and kind of speaks for itself. I mean, there was some, and Skinner spoke as well. There were some obvious questions relating it to last year, which, as you know, they kind of said, well, yeah, we've dealt with it before, but we don't really like dealing with it. Skinner was pretty,
themselves.
Yeah, I mean, pretty honest as well that, that he felt pretty disappointed. But as we know, that Skinner usually says, I just got to learn from it, so it hopefully doesn't happen again. It was a complete dud of a game by the Oilers, like extremely, obviously extremely disappointing, but it was just a poor game, and they didn't do things for the most part. I think there are maybe some question marks that still have to be hopefully answered in a positive way, but they didn't do things that we know they can do. And I one thing that stood out to me, Tom, tonight was how easily the Winnipeg Jets passed the puck around the Oilers' end of the rink.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to imagine a line coming out perpendicular from the center of the Oilers' net, okay? And if the puck is passed by the attacking team across that line, it increases the chances of scoring on a subsequent shot by about 10 to 15%, I think. Like goalie save percentage dropped from 900 to 780. Right. That's why on a 2-on-1, you're better not even allowing the pass. You're almost better just allowing the guy with the puck to go in as opposed to passing across. The Jets scored 3 goals off that today. So yes, there were other breakdowns, but they just that's part of the breakdowns is that they didn't cover well enough in their own end, and the Jets passed the puck around as if it was almost a 5-on-2 drill. You saw the play in the first period. Like a lot of things happen on. I think it was the Appleton goal, the second goal.
Yeah.
Arvidsson gets caught out on the ice. He has to change. He finally changes. The Jets have the puck when he's changing. The puck's in front of the Oilers bench. McDavid isn't getting back quickly enough. Nurse steps up on the guy inside the blue line, probably thinking that McDavid is closer to back checking than he is. He's not there. The puck goes across. Emberson then is back too far, so it's basically a 2-on-1 for the Jets, and that puck comes all the way across the ice, and Appleton goes in and scores. Another goal in the second period. They get hemmed in, and the puck comes across in front of the net. Nurse can't step out on it. I think it was Podkolzin can't get back enough. There's a soft spot there, and they shoot and score. And you compare that to how we know the Oilers can play, how they did in the playoffs, and how the Jets played tonight. Yes, the Oilers got shots, but there wasn't a lot clean. I remember the one play that stands out for me is when the Oilers had a chance in the second period, and Hellebuck was down, and there was a rebound, and Arvidsson got a backhand away. He was being pressured, like there's a guy diving at him. There's another guy slashing at him, and he wasn't able to lift the puck, and Hellebuck makes the save. Even in the third period, or the Jets are up 5-0, they're blocking shots. They're collapsing in front of their own net. So they're bunched around in that home plate area, and the Oilers were often very spread out.
Yep.
It's correctable, but it was very discouraging to see. I'm sure people are pointing fingers at certain players tonight. If you're doing that, good on you, but get over it. That was an awful game from top to bottom, including McDavid, including Ekholm. Two of the most reliable players on the team did not play well enough.
29-8 were the block shot totals in favor of the Canucks. So you're talking about them protecting that home base area, the slot. The Jets did a great job of doing that tonight. And they actually added a block shot since I gave out the stats. The league did. And you know how they do that, Reid. They go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. They cross the T's and they dot the I's in lowercase J's. And so 29-8 is the block shot total in favor of Winnipeg tonight. All right. We went through this last year. You did it on Chat. I did it here on EST. We kind of brushed off and flushed, if you will, game one, that 8-1 loss. And then the Oilers played again on Saturday against the Vancouver Canucks. It was a home and home back-to-back to start the season, and they lost in a much closer game. But they weren't that much sharper. They just dialed it in a little bit, and I think they had better energy in front of their home fans. Are we going to be talking about a same situation, a slippery slope by Saturday? Because I'm already getting the "here we go again" text.
No, fair comment. I mean, how can
those come in?
How can people not say that or worry about it? Given what happened last year, I guess the positive I would say is they're not playing Vancouver again. Chicago probably still won't be very good this year. I know Calgary. Did Calgary not have a big comeback tonight? I haven't seen the highlights yet. Calgary probably won't be very good. So, you'd hope you don't lose both those games. Though I think last year they did win their third game of the season, right? Because then didn't they go to Nashville and win and then lost in Philadelphia? So
that was Jack Campbell's last good game.
Yeah, the one in Nashville. That's right, when they won 6-1. So yeah, it's a fair concern to have. Though you certainly hope it doesn't happen. I would think if the Oilers attacked the way they do tonight against Chicago, you won't get shut out. Chicago is not as stout defensively as Winnipeg, and they don't have Hellebuck in net. There were little flurries the Oilers had, and I actually thought from about 7 minutes into the game until Winnipeg scored the first goal, the Oilers did have some chances. And again, the huge what if they score first, but they didn't. And then you play Calgary, who shouldn't be very good, but they're going to be up to play the Oilers. So yeah, it's a fair concern. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. Like as people who know me know, I'm not a hair on fire type of guy, but it is a fair concern to say, wait a minute, 7-goal loss last year, and you started 2-9-1, 6-goal loss this year. What are you going to start? When are you going to wake up and turn it around? I think last year, there were some definite coaching alterations that Woodcroft was making that didn't work defensively. And I also think you had a team that was already thinking about game 83 as opposed to being planted in the start of the regular season. I don't think Knoblauch was overhauling anything coaching-wise this year, and I would hope the team is mature enough to realize that, yes, the goal is the Stanley Cup, but they have to be totally engaged in the journey from day one. So hopefully we see some things cleaned up in game 2. But
yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
But a lot of guys didn't look good tonight, and a lot of reliable players didn't look good tonight. From some of the new things that we have, Emerson and Nurse looked like they weren't familiar with each other. Dermott didn't look great to me defending the scoring area.
Fair.
But again, I don't want to make this just about a few players because I think it was a team failure tonight. But just in terms of some of the new tweaks to the lineup, maybe there's some concern there to wonder how long it's going to take to gel or for players to really find a slot.
All right. I'll throw this one at you, Riedrich. Kris Knoblauch said it going into this game when he was asked about line combinations, D pairs, and essentially he said they're not always going to stay the same. Situations dictate that. He'll get the bingo balls out, but he did it pretty quickly tonight. Did you think it was pointless, or would you have done the same thing if you were in his situation?
No, I think you have to try to change something when it's going that poorly. Though I don't think it was till the second period, right, where we started seeing, was the first shift not Perry with Draisaitl and McDavid?
Yes, it was.
Which was interesting. He got the first look up there. No, I think as a coach, you have to do that. And all coaches do that. Here's the thing, Tom, we talked to an audience that really only pays attention to the Oilers within a game. Of course. But I mean, if you look at nights in the past, and it'll happen this year when the Oilers kick the crap out of a team, you'll see other coaches change things late in the first period, in the second period. It's a pretty normal tactic. I think the challenge for Knoblauch tonight is you could really say, like, who's going? Because even some of the dangerous chances McDavid created. And again, I don't think this was a great game by McDavid by any means.
No, I said it earlier.
They were snuffed out. I mean, Arvidsson might have been one of the. Well, actually, Perry might have had a decent game. But again, it's hard to say anybody played well when you lose by 6 goals. But that's the tough night for a coach like this. It's like, what combination is working? Who were your 3 best forwards that could form a top line in terms of just tonight's play? It was the kind of the best of a poor bunch this evening.
Riedrich, how do you think things will go over on your show tomorrow here on EST?
Well, I think we're going to have a great show. It'll be fun for Jay to dive into talking about Oilers stuff. It will be interesting. The emotions tend to level out a little bit. It'll be different for me doing stuff at 3 p.m. as opposed to right after a game, like you're doing. But I get it. There's the fans are passionate and the expectations are high, which I think is good. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't a 2-1 loss, with Hellebuck standing on his head when you outchanced the Jets. This was a stinker. So I get it. People are going to be sour for a couple of days, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And it's been a bad 3 weeks for Winnipeg Edmonton matchups, I guess. If you factor in football as well, hasn't been very good for the Edmonton side of it.
Oh, you had to get that in there, did you? You had to.
I'm sorry. That. I mean, I feel that pain too, but yeah.
I know.
Hustler's happy.
Hustler's happy. Hustler's had a great 2 weeks, 3 weeks even. Just fantastic. Kansas City, baseball, football, the Bombers, the Jets. My goodness. Good for us. Winnipeg Sports Talk is beaming with pride right now. You know what, Riedrich? I'm beaming with pride that you and I get to share the airwaves together. Thanks for hopping on tonight, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thanks for having a funny-looking old man on your show.
Oh, Reid Wilkins, always fantastic. Good to hear from him. He was inside the Oilers locker room as they get shellacked 6-0 by the Winnipeg Jets. You're listening to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas with you. We'll keep going if those texts keep coming in. 780-218-9999. Nasty chat, do your thing. We've got a good chunk of people watching right now. I saw there was some people saying iHeart was giving them some fits. I know there's been some issues with it the last couple of days, but that's so everything.
Yeah, it seems everything's okay here. Maddie's here. So I think it's one or two people here. But yeah, thanks, Reid, for joining. A difficult night for Oiler fans. I mean, you saw the faces there in the stands leaving, and I knew a bunch of people that were at the game. And it's unfortunate, Tom, because you think the Oilers are past this. Now, it's one game. We're breaking down one game. It doesn't mean this team's not going to go to the playoffs. Doesn't mean this team's not going to go on a roll at one point this season. But 5 goals on 13 is not good. And I know some are tough to save and all that, but that's inexcusable. But everybody's talking about the defense, but we all knew this, man. We knew this. We absolutely knew this going in.
Yeah, we knew this. And
and I was a guy who said, get rid of CC, get rid of Desharnais. I wasn't high on them. But I said, if you're going to get rid of those guys, bring in better players. And they didn't. And then Troy Stecher, tomorrow on every show, Tom, everybody's going to be like, bring in Troy Stecher. It's not going to change anything. He's a third pairing guy. There's a reason why he can't get into the lineup here ahead of Travis Dermott. Like, come on. And I feel bad for Ty Emberson because I think we're all guilty of, maybe not, like, we're kind of realistic. We said this guy's 30 games in. There's good potential, but the analytics crew was like, wow, he's been great. It's a 30-game sample size, and he's not. You can tell he's not ready for top 4 minutes, and the Oilers don't have a guy that is, and I think that's why he made the switch. Veteran guy, go play with Darnell Nurse, see what you can do. We'll put Emerson, give him softer minutes with Kulak, and I'm going to be interested to see what happens here because if you're going to give up on Emerson and Nurse after one game, which I highly doubt Kris Knoblauch will do, but he might. But if this pairing keeps struggling, the Oilers are in trouble, and everybody knows they're desperate for a defenseman, Tom. Where are they going to get it? Who's going to give them a top 4 guy? There's no one out there.
I think every team out there is doing everything in its power to make it as difficult as possible for the Oilers to have any sort of success. Case in point today, Raphael Lavoie gets reclaimed by the Oilers, but someone else made a claim. The Oilers won the claim. And so he has to stay on the roster, thus costing them cap space.
Yeah.
Unless they put him back on waivers now because he can't just be sent down to Bakersfield. So it's going to be like that. They have the bullseye on their back. And then Hernan, they have Chicago on Saturday. I don't know if you caught the Utah Blackhawks game yesterday.
Chicago didn't look good.
No.
but either did the Oilers. My pen just went flying. But like I'm so done too, Tom, with giving Darnell Nurse excuses. It's time to buck up and play better. It's that simple, man. You're 20. How old is he? 29. You're making a killing, contract-wise. And yes, I'm not. Oh, don't use that as an excuse. I am. You signed that. You know where you were signing it, so you better step up and play. You're not going to play to it, but you better be close to it. Darnell Nurse. I know it's only one game, but he better get in shape here. And I'm not saying like physical shape, but like get to where he was 3 years ago because they need him. Because I'm looking at this decor and yikes, it is not good. And the only option you have right now is Troy Stecher, and you can call up Josh Brown if you want. Like
don't even bring that up yet.
No, but I'm saying he's next. He's the 8th guy, right? Who else are you going to bring up? So I just get frustrated because Tommy, you, Dusty, Reid, everybody said this deep is a problem. Everybody, look at his analytics, 30 games, blah, blah. Like, Travis Dermott played 4 good games in the preseason. Let's sign him. Everybody was so damn excited. And after game 1, everybody wants to ship these guys out of town. We've been telling you this. Now, can Emerson get better? Of course he can. But is he a top 4 guy? Come on. Like,
not yet.
You're making me miss Cody Ceci, and I don't like that. Because I look like a fool now. I said, get rid of him.
Man, so it is so good to have you back. If you're wondering, Emerson and Nurse, -4 combined, both of them -2 on the night. Emerson actually played 3rd most minutes on the back end at 20:15. Bouchard led the way at 25:04. Ekholm 21:30. Nurse at 18:42. You had 1 shot from Nurse, 2 block shots from Nurse, 2 hits, 1 giveaway. And Emerson had a nice hit as well as a giveaway and a takeaway. So there is your second pairing stat line for the Oilers. We will go back inside the Oilers locker room briefly. We have Stu Skinner and we have Kris Knoblauch.
Yes. Who would you like to go to here?
I'd probably rather hear from Kris Knoblauch.
Okay.
We heard from Leon Draisaitl. I feel like Stu Skinner will say stuff like, I know where I was, I made my mistakes. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to be better next game. Stu's very, very consistent.
Yes, but
when he talks about that.
But even with Leon's presser, like I like when I was younger, Tom, I lived for I want to hear what they say. Like it's game one. These guys have been there. These guys have been here too many times, so they're pros at it. Yeah, we got to be better. Like Leon's not going to overreact and be pissy with the media after one game, right? Like he's just like, okay, we play. And what I did like though, I was going to call you Connor for some reason, Tom. I don't know why. Anyways,
that's okay. I am not offended.
I was thinking of Connor McDavid, though. That's
okay. That's
what I did like, though, was that you saw Draisaitl upset tonight. Like, I remember last year in the 8-1 drubbing, I think everybody was just shocked. They was kind of like, whoa, what the hell happened? Like, Draisaitl in the second period, early on, was slamming his stick. He was shaking his head on the bench. Like, he knew this team didn't have it. And for me, the only guy that kind of showed up was Connor Brown. I didn't think anyone else had a good game. I don't even think the top pairing did, Tom.
No, they really didn't. Like Reid said, and I'll second what he said. It was just a bad game all around for this team. Okay, we're going to get to Kris Knoblauch, then we're going to get to the turning point and the player of the game. More of your texts, keep those coming in. 780-218-9999. And the nasty chat, Edmonton gets absolutely smoked 6-0 to start the season. Here is head coach Kris Knoblauch.
A night like that when it appears to be kind of loose defensively, I think by the standard you guys can play at, how difficult is it to try to get it back mid-game? Like, how do you do a better job at kind of stopping what was happening?
It's tough to rebound against a team like this. Last year, they were the best defensive team in the league. So, when you're giving them goals, it's tough to get them back. And, offensively, I thought we generated enough. I thought we had enough chances. It wasn't our best night offensively, obviously, without the goals. But, their goalie played well, and we didn't finish any chances off. But that part wasn't horrendous. But some of the defensive stuff that we did was pretty bad. And I don't know if there was many mistakes, but the mistakes that we made were just not good enough.
Kris, how did you feel like you were able to contend with Winnipeg's speed tonight?
I don't think we had any problem with their speed. I thought we had the puck most of the night, so it was just the mistakes that we made. And it wasn't mistakes that we were under pressure. It was just, yeah.
A lot of guys making their Oilers debut. One was Ty Emberson, who got a pretty prominent role next to Jarno Nurse, at least for 2 periods. What did you think of his debut with the team tonight?
I think there was a lot of guys that could have been better. And I don't think he was stood out either way. I don't think he was great, or I don't think he was terrible. So I think it was just, like a lot of guys with our night, just kind of was there, not positive or negative.
What's the balance between relax, it's only one game, and relax, it's only one game is exactly what the team was saying last year at this point?
I don't know. I've been coaching for a while, not here obviously, but I've seen a lot of bad games, and I've seen my teams respond, and not my team, but teams, no matter what league it is. So yeah, I don't know. We got punched pretty good tonight. I don't know. We've always been able to respond. Last year, I was happy with our guys when we did have a bad game. We usually responded really well. So we'll see this weekend. I was asked this morning about how we, evaluating the preseason and when to be alarmed. I think it's one game. After this weekend, definitely that'll be a tell of where we are at.
Stu Skinner obviously was disappointed with the way he played tonight, but just maybe a thought on kind of the decision you had to make there, whether leave him in, take him out. I know you waited till commercial break, so kind of one of those tough ones in the first game of the year with your starter.
Yeah, Stu, I don't think any of the goals were bad goals. Sometimes you pull your goalie and it's, like, ooh, what were you doing on those? I don't think there was any of those. But I also don't think there was any saves, any big ones. We left him out to dry. The defensive lapses to put him in that position. It's not fair for any goaltender. But there's a point in the game that we had to make that change, and yeah, we did that.
Matthias Ekholm said sense of urgency defending maybe wasn't quite there. Like, would you agree? What do you think the main problem or issue you saw with the way you defended tonight was?
Yeah. I think there might have been a couple times that maybe we're out of position a little bit, but I think mostly it was the urgency, closing plays, just fighting to come up with the puck rather than just being there. And I think too many times we were just there.
Kris, you put Leon and Connor together late in the second period. How hard did you fight not to do that, considering your first two lines, you want to get some chemistry from those two
I know
lines?
they're going to be playing together. We played in our last exhibition game in Vancouver. And third period, I had already had arranged before the game started that they would be together just to have that some time together, because in the regular season, they're going to spend a lot of time together. So whether that's when we're chasing a game, started games, whatever, they'll play. So there's no, I don't want to do that. It's just, something that's going to happen.
Would you say your fourth line was your best line?
I thought our third line was really good. I thought they spent a lot of times. I don't recall them ever being in any trouble. Connor Brown had 2 grade A deflections in the slot. They set up the shorthanded one. I thought the third line was really good. Other than the one shift that that fourth line got scored against, or 2 of them were out there. Besides that shift, I thought they played pretty well.
Thank you.
Kris, your penalty kill, you'd mentioned you wanted to use Arvidsson. Him and Henrique seemed to start, and then you go to Brown and Janmark, and then you had Podkolzin and Nugent Hopkins. Is that kind of the rotation you want to see?
No, we had penalties a couple times. And also there's a couple times where guys were tired from being on the ice, and then we had to change it up. So, the pairs were pretty much the same, but who starts in the rotation was dictated just on game situation.
Kris, everyone was talking about turning the page from last season. Does a loss like this help turn the page, or does it illustrate how tough that might be to do going into this season?
I think it's tough. You obviously had an incredible year that finished with disappointment, and it's tough to just say, forget about it. Let's think about now. But there's a point where we need to do that, and like I said, I think our hearts were into it. I liked the start of our game. The pace was good. And then just some mistakes led into some.
Okay, there's Kris Knoblauch on his team's 6-0 defeat to open up the 24-25 season. We got a few minutes to go here, a couple things to take care of, and we could do a few more texts as well. I've got a couple saved up via the inbox, 780-218-9999. Hernan also will get to his final thoughts as well as the player of the game. One thing really quickly, Hernan, that I agree with Knoblauch, like the third line, I kind of said it in jest earlier, but they were okay. On a night where there was really nothing that good, they were okay. I disagree, though, with Kris Knoblauch about those goals not being ones that Skinner could have a better impact on to have the positive outcome.
I feel like a coach is always going to say that, though. He's not going to throw his young goalie under the bus this early. And we saw it with Woody. We saw it with Todd McClellan. They were all kind of the same. They protect the guys early on. I think if this continues, but Kris Knoblauch's not like that, right? He's very calm. He's never going to call out players. So I understand where he's going. But to say that none of the goals were bad or anything like that, it's just a coach protecting his guys after a bad game.
No, that's fair point. Fair point. And acknowledged. Okay, we got to get to the turning point of the game presented by Advantage Sports Medicine. Great to have them on with us here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre- and post-game show. At Advantage Sport Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance your performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach, trusted by the best in the game. All right, the turning point of the game. And I'm not saying this in jest, but it really, it was kind of deflated the Oilers, and it sucked any energy that was in the building. It happened in the first period, and it happened to be the Winnipeg Jets opening up the scoring. Adam Lowry, it was the bank goal that I think, things were looking okay in that first period for the Oilers, and they were getting some offensive zone time, and you thought maybe they'd be able to get the lead, get the crowd going, sway the momentum in their direction a little bit, but Lowry banks one in, uncontested. Travis Dermott not there to take his man, and that came at 14:56. Niederreiter and Appleton the assists. And away the Jets went. They basically took off from there, for a lack of a better term, en route to a 6-0 victory over the Oil. So there is your turning point of the game, presented by Advantage Sports Medicine. Nanso, any thoughts or any texts you want to get to before we get to the player of the game?
I think that, like you said, up until that point, I thought the Oilers were playing a decent game. I'm not going to sit here and say they were dominating or anything crazy like that. But that goal was kind of, Dermott's kind of like looking at Lowry, but he doesn't know where the puck is. And it was a good initial save by Stuart Skinner.
It was. I thought it was a sharp kick save, and then the bank, Dermott not anywhere. Well, Dermott was caught looking around, but.
Yeah, and that's why I don't put that one on Skinner, because Skinner, he made a tough save, and he's hoping his defense either ties up Lowry or blocks the shot or gets a stick on it or anything like that. But Dermott was kind of caught in no man's land. He reminded me of a DB when he doesn't know where the ball's going. He's just kind of running, waving his hands. This? Yeah, that's what Travis Dermott looked like that on that play. So, no, I think that's the perfect call right there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to this text. Says, this is why I'm glad Hernan is back. Nice to hear someone hold Nurse accountable.
I think a lot of people hold Nurse accountable here.
They call him out for sure.
Yeah, it's and like I said, it's time to enough with the. I told Gager on our show, I think 2 weeks ago, I'm done this year with the excuses. I don't care who he plays with. I don't care what he's going, like injury wise. Like if you can play well. I'm done with the excuses for this guy. Like, he's 29 years old. It seems like he's declining, Tom. He's not getting better. And the frustrating part is that you see it for 5-6 games at a time, right? You see how solid he can be, and he moves the puck, and he's physical, but the thing that I struggle with Darnell Nurse is his defensive awareness. And you saw it again today. And on the second goal they got scored on, he looked frustrated. Like, he just shook his head and was like, I don't know if he's mad at himself or mad at his partner or mad at the forwards, but there was frustration there, and it's game one.
I'll say this about the goals against and the frustration and all that. Even though we can point the finger at Nurse, and I think it's fair to, there were other guys on some of those goals, on that goal in particular, that had breakdowns, and it was just like a collapse of
Tom, and
every element that you need.
I don't want to sit here and say I'm blaming Darnell Nurse. No,
I'm not saying you are. I'm just
the pairing was bad, and that third forward, like the first goal, McDavid, the second one, I don't know who was there. There was a late guy on the backdoor tap in. So I'm not saying it was all Darnell Nurse, but he needs to step it up here. He needs to help this D-core out.
That's fair. Totally fair. All right, let's get to the Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Hernan, the Latino Heat, Salas, all you, buddy.
Yeah, not much to choose from. I think I've brought him up a few times, but I thought Connor Brown was around it tonight. I'm not going to sit here and say he was outstanding, but I thought he was. He had 3 shots on net. He had 1 hit. He only played 12:46, but I thought he was around it, Tom. I thought he had some good looks. He had some good jump. I thought he was the best player on his line. I thought he was the best forward overall. And that's not saying much because this team looked pretty nonchalant today. And stems maybe from the preseason. Who the hell knows? Their long run. Maybe it's going to take them a bit to get going here, Tom. But for me, Connor Brown is the Damon Bunting Remax player of the game.
Nicely done, Nanso. Very nicely done. We have now crept into Thursday morning. We're going to wrap things up with a couple of texts. Atif, Old Wheels himself, texts in and says, Tommy and Hernan, I twiddled my thumbs all night. I was waiting for something to happen. I went around Rogers looking for a 6 o'clocker logger. Couldn't find one. The Oilers will be fine. The Oilers have to dog right now. Thank you, Atif. I think he's chat to text, isn't he? Sometimes
maybe he's had one too many. He's celebrating the first game, right?
Yeah, he might not be having a 6 o'clocker, but he's having 3 Molsons that are nuclear beers down at Rogers Place. Let's go to Scalding Gourd. One more here, and then I'll turn it over to Nanso one last time. Este's rant of the year is going to be highly contested with Maddie and Glue Guy going off on Elks issues and Tommy dealing with Oilers and us weirdos, but my money's still on a certain fella that brings a specific type of heat. I think that means that people are very, very happy to have you back, Hernan Salas.
Yeah, it's been fun. Obviously not the result any of us wanted. We always want the Oilers to have success, and it's only one game, but that's what we do here. We break down the one game, and we don't think about last year or anything else. So, what a way to get started with an absolute drubbing at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. I can't wait for Saturday, Sunday. I know it's long weekend. It's Thanksgiving. I'm going to be late to a lot of family dinners, but it's going to be all worth it because I can't wait, Tommy. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you to the Nasties and all the listeners for the wonderful words and for welcoming me back. And Tom, with you and Cass, and I know we're going to have a whack of fill-in guys and guys that are going to join us. I can't wait. This is going to be a great, great season.
Yes, it will be. So good to have you back, and you're doing a great job figuring out how to produce at EST, a little bit different than the 1260 days. Latino Heat, Nanso, Hernan Salas, catch them tomorrow on EST afternoons, and then right here on the Oil Stream pre- and post-game show brought to you by GCL Diesel. I will end it on, I'm not even going to say, it's not positive. Silver lining, let's call it. This was not the worst season opener in Oilers history. They did get smacked around by the Canucks in Vancouver 8-1 last year. And then I suppose it's even worse when you lose to Calgary 9-2 like they did to open up the 91-92 season. They did go to the conference final that year. So there's that, Oil Country. There's that. A huge thank you to Matt Kassian and Reid Wilkins for all the fine work that they do here at EST. And, of course, to all of you who tuned in, whether it was on iHeart, the TuneIn app, Apple Music, Edmonton, sportstalk.com's live stream, or if you watch this on YouTube, a huge thank you as well. And then to those who will listen tomorrow on Thursday or later on the podcast version of this show, we thank you as always. For Hernan Salas, Matt Kassian, Reid Wilkins, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you. Have a great night, everyone.